Check, check. Mic check 1, mic check 2. Thank you very much.
Off. Got everybody?
Trying to.
Let's see. Hey, Joel, I think when you're ready.
All right.
Chairman up here if he wants to. Chairman. Everybody here, Secretary Willie. Okay.
We have right in the middle of downtown Savannah.
Are we ready? Okay, good morning. I want to welcome all of you here this morning. I am Joel Wooten. I'm chairman of the Georgia Ports Authority Board, and this is a special day for GPA and a great day to be in Savannah. I want to thank all of you for being here with us, and especially our Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg. We're happy he could take the time to be here and get a first-hand look at what we think is one of the most efficient ports in North America. See Russell here. I also want to thank the Department of Transportation, the Georgia DOT. We have a close working relationship with them, and that has resulted in a number of positive improvements, not the least of which is the Mason Mega Rail Terminal, at which we're having this conference. Intermodal rail plays a key role today in moving the massive influx of cargo, new cargo that ports across the nation are experiencing and dealing with today. Federal support has been vital to the infrastructure expansions that we've been able to do, and that has helped GPA prepare for and respond to the current level of container demand and other products. Now I want to ask our Executive Director, Griff Lynch, to come forward. Griff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Mr. Secretary, thank you very much for being here. We greatly appreciate the visit, and all of you who are attending, all of our esteemed guests. You know, one of the things that we're here for is to celebrate not only the Mason Mega Rail, which just opened not but a few weeks ago, increased 30% with the latest bundle of our capacity. What you're looking at here can handle 2 million TEUs a year, or 20-foot equivalents, or 1 million containers. There's no other port that has this kind of container capacity in the country. That being said, we still had some challenges, and you know, we called the Department of Transportation and we said, hey, we have an idea. We think we could do something helping cargo move a little better, and we can set up a supply chain relief program, and we could arrange for pop-up yards and working with Norfolk Southern and CSX and others. And I got to tell you, the Department of Transportation, Secretary Buttigieg and John Picari and their teams did a wonderful job of trying to help us. And what they did is said, oh, Griff, you've got $8 million that's not going to be utilized on another project because we came in under budget. How about we take that and redirect it towards the pop-up program? We jumped on it, and as a result, customers like Home Depot, Walmart, Williams-Sonoma, Rayonier, and many others have said, yes, we want to do this. So we've now established 4 yards just in Georgia, and we're looking to go beyond the state now as we work with other customers, and we're working closely with them. So I want to tell you thank you to all of our customers. Thank you to the DOT for helping us work through this together. What does it all mean, and where is it going? Back in mid-October, we had 31 ships at anchor. Today, we're down to 6 vessels. In the last 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks, we've knocked down 25 ships. That's 4 to 6 vessels a week less. So if we can continue on this pace, we'll have zero before you know it. And when we do, you will know it. So thank you very much. And I'd like to ask Chairman Ellis to come on up here and say a few words as well. Thank you.
Good morning. Let me first take the opportunity to thank all of you, and that's all of the staff from Georgia Ports Authority, from the Secretary's office. And Mr. Secretary, we just want to welcome you to the County of Chatham. And on behalf of the 3,000 citizens of Chatham County, I want to present you with the key to the county so that you will have the remembrance of this day. And that key will allow you to come and go as you please. And we just want to extend that welcome to you. And it's such a great partnership that we have between transportation, between the Georgia Ports Authority, between the citizens of Chatham County. Again, let me welcome you and thank you for being here with us today. Let me now introduce the mayor of the city of Savannah, Mayor Johnson.
Thank you so much, and good morning, Chairman Wooten, Director Lynch, Chairman Ellis, Mr. Seymour, and of course, our Secretary Pete Buttigieg. We are so glad to welcome you all here, and we're so glad that Georgia is on your mind and Savannah is in your hearts. We are moving and grooving in this community as it relates to transportation. Things are happening in this community, and we are not only feeding the Southeast, we are feeding the nation, which is why it's so significant to have the Secretary here with us today. Why I'm really so excited to have him here is because he was a mayor. He distinguished himself as the 32nd mayor, I believe, of South Bend, Indiana. And in the 12 years he was there, he understood very clearly that economic development is important and recognized that commerce was important. But he also recognized that people were important and communities were important and equity is important, and that we can do all of those things at the same time. And so I'm so excited on behalf of the city to welcome him here, to welcome all of you back here where magic is happening every single day. It gives me great pleasure to introduce someone who has been a part of that magic since before I was born, or somewhere close. But it is him. He is someone who these ports really sit on his broad shoulders. He's representative of the men and women who have fed their families and sent their kids to college, built their first homes because of the work here in the port. He is representative of those that when the pandemic slowed the country down, kept this port up and running and kept things moving. He is representative of the very best of our community, and we are very glad that he is one of ours. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Willie Seymour of the International Longshoremen Association.
Good morning. You know, it's kind of hard to come to the mic and follow an introduction. But I started on the docks in 1977. And with the work of the ILA and the GPA, we have been just one force to reckon with. We never stopped during the pandemic. I want to stop this moment and thank the men and women of Local 1414, Local 1475, and Local 2046. Kerry Scott, Mr. Sims, Steve Sims, and Mr. Jackie Robertson are the president of the three locals. These gentlemen have led the charge in making sure that the ships, 31 ships anchored out, we down to 6. I want you to know that team effort, the GPA and the ILA stood strong amongst this. We never stopped, 24/24. When some ports are trying to figure out a way to do 24, we've been doing 24. So we're going to make sure all the customers that we serve enjoy their Christmas holiday by depending upon us. It's been an honor of mine and just a pleasure to introduce the 19th Secretary of Transportation of the United States of America. Pete has been just a hands-on, and we cannot be more proud of to have him come to this city, the city of brotherly love, the city where we never sleep until the ships are going out to sea. Again, we want to thank you for allowing us to be here. Mr. Secretary, again, thank you for your work.
Thank you so much, Vice President Seymour, and to the workers you represent. You're right. We count on you and those you represent in so many ways, literally powering and fueling our economy. The presents under the tree, the things on the shelves, they all got here because somebody made it possible. And so many of those somebodies are the men and women that are working right here at the port. I want to thank Director Lynch for the excellent tour, for the pride that he rightfully takes in what goes on here. Chairman Wooten for the leadership and the work and the warm welcome. I want to acknowledge NEC, the National Economic Council's Deputy Director here from the White House, Samira Fazli, who's been working these supply chain issues day in, day out. Thanks for hitting the road with us. And I think that reflects just how important the supply chain work, the ports work, and what goes on right here in Savannah really is. I want to thank Mayor Johnson for making us feel so welcome here and for having the most demanding and important job in government, serving on those front lines, those local leaders like Mayor Johnson, like Chairman Ellis, who are actually doing that work that we're so often trying to support and discuss in Washington, D.C. And I want to acknowledge, though they couldn't be here because of business in Washington, Senators Ossoff and Warnock, both of whom have, I can assure you, been constantly and repeatedly encouraging me to come here to Savannah. Now I understand why they think it's so important that this port get the attention that it deserves. I know Representative Carter would have liked to be here as well. Savannah is considered the first planned city in America, laid out with many of the city planning principles that are in use to this day, like street grids around public squares. So smart infrastructure planning and thoughtful design are part of Savannah's origin and history and very much part of Savannah's future. We just took a terrific tour around this port, and we saw the way that teamwork, technology, and humanity interact in order to make it possible for an astonishing level of goods to come and go. By the way, a record level of goods happening right now. So if you hear about strains in the supply chain, it's not because workers or ports, especially at a place like Savannah, are slowing down. Quite the contrary. They are moving the most we have ever seen moved. It's just that the demand is so far off the charts that it's going to take even more to keep up. This is the fourth busiest port in the U.S. It is our largest agriculture exporting port, and it's grown enormously in recent years, from 1 million containers in 2001 to over 4.5 million containers in 2019. And maybe most importantly, my favorite number about this port, the 496,000 American jobs that are supported by the economic activity here. Now, across the country, we are seeing unprecedented levels of demand of goods moving through, as I said. Often, though, that new demand is moving across old infrastructure that was built generations ago. Sometimes it reflects the absolute state of the art of the early 20th century, but was not built for moments like this. And then the global pandemic came, adding to a perfect storm that put our supply chains to the test, and people are feeling it. Now, most of the supply chains are owned and operated by private sector actors, and rightly so. This is America. Nobody's looking to see government-owned and operated grocery stores or warehouses or shipping companies. But we know that there is a public sector responsibility to support that, especially because public infrastructure is so central. And that's why this administration has been moving mountains, specifically working to move mountains of containers to help make sure that that flow is happening more quickly. We were proud to update our agreement with the Georgia Ports Authority to give them that flexibility to create those pop-up container yards. I think it's a great example of the kind of flexibility and creativity that is happening on the ground that we're so pleased to support. Because what it means is, of course, so many of those long-dwelling containers that were in the way can be stored and distributed further inland, freeing up critical space right here. And I'm so impressed to see that already in operation. In June, we awarded Georgia Ports Authority a $47 million grant to create a much larger, more permanent inland port in the years ahead. We've been gathering people from across supply chains on a regular basis, and we've found eagerness and readiness to try new things, and a readiness among our partners to come to us and let us know what they need from Washington. We're working to align supply chain operators to expand hours so that in every part of the country you see goods moving quickly. And we're supporting incentives and, where necessary, fees to make sure that the companies do move as quickly as possible. We had a good day yesterday at the White House with truck drivers, workers, and companies talking about the trucking side and launching a truck action plan. Because often if you see ships waiting at anchor, it might be for a reason that is 1,000 miles inland. The availability of intermodal facilities and workers to move those products along. And we are seeing the progress. Right here at Savannah, 50% reduction in long dwell containers since Labor Day. Just as we've seen reductions in LA and Long Beach. We've seen, as the director mentioned, vessels at anchor down from a high of 30 a couple of months ago to just 8 this week. Or did you say 6? We're down to 6 now? All right. So even as we speak, we're seeing that number fall. We're seeing retailers reporting their shelves stocked for the holidays, and progress that is going to mean so much to consumers as well as workers here. Now, as creative as the actors on the ground get, we know that decades of underinvestment have caught up to us as a country. That's why we're making investments for a new generation. And that's why I'm especially thankful for the support from Senator Warnock and Senator Ossoff to pass that bipartisan infrastructure law, so that we can not only make up for lost time investing in our ports and waterways and our roads and bridges and our rail and transit, but also get ready for the growth opportunity of the future. That announcement last night from Rivian means even more demand for imported materials and something that is especially exciting, even more opportunity to export quality American-made vehicles out around the world, perhaps right through this port. This is going to make it easier and more affordable for people to get where they need to be, but also for goods to get where they need to go. Right now, we're preparing to announce a new round of port infrastructure development grants, a program that's being put into action right here in Savannah. And of course, this law will also bring broadband to every community, take out lead pipes, help support flood resilience for coastal Georgia, and do so much more. So we're making so much progress. We have so much work ahead of us, too. And that's why I'm pleased by the opportunity to be here and highlight the extraordinary work and the extraordinary workers who are fueling America's economy as we head into the holiday season. And with that, I think we have a little bit of time for questions, and my colleague Carrie will quarterback things.
Okay, let's go. Thank you, Secretary. We have about 5 minutes for questions. We're going to start with Sean, who's right here.
Thank you, Carrie. Secretary Buttigieg, thank you so much. Sean Evans with WTOC News here in Savannah. I do want to start talking about one vital component of the supply chain. You mentioned truck drivers. And you touched on that truck action plan. A task force has been created to look at improving the working conditions for truck drivers nationwide. Can you talk about the work that that task force will be doing, what they'll be looking at, and how that could affect that workforce right here in the Savannah area?
Yeah, this is crucially important for the entire supply chain. In order for these goods to efficiently move to where they need to go, we need to have the right kind of trucking workforce. But we don't have the capacity that we need right now for several reasons. We're breaking our efforts down, if I can simplify the work of the Truck Action Plan, into 2 pieces. One is recruiting, making it easier for people who want a career in trucking to get that career. And by the way, doing it with equity, bringing people in, women, workers, drivers of color who have not always had those opportunities, finding veterans who often already have the relevant skills, tearing down red tape, getting your CDL. We're not going to lower the standards because safety is paramount. But we can get rid of some of these testing delays, and we're going to deploy millions of dollars out to the states to help do that. Now, that's the recruiting side. But that recruiting, frankly, is filling a leaky bucket unless we do something about the retention side. We're losing 300,000 truckers a year who leave the field entirely. Some of the largest employers, there is a 90% annual turnover rate. Think about that, 90%. And a lot of that has to do with working conditions. Infrastructure is a workplace for America's truckers. And if that workplace doesn't have bathrooms, I mean, who among us would be willing to sign up to work at a workplace that didn't have bathrooms or parking? Or if you have a situation we see in a lot of places where the truckers are there, the availability is there, but their time is not being used well because they have to wait hours for an opportunity to pick up or drop off their products. That's something that we can do something about, and make sure that they are paid for their time, which is, of course, all that any worker can expect. So we're launching a compensation study to get to the bottom of some of those issues. We're partnering with unions and with the private sector to try to promote apprenticeship programs to make sure that we have that kind of quality training with safety, and taking a number of other measures to make sure we address that. Because anything that you picked up off a shelf, anything you ordered online, chances are it got there with a truck.
Thank you again for being here, Secretary. My name is Isabel Litchurst. I'm with Fox 28 here in Savannah. My question for you is, can you just speak to people who are concerned that their Christmas presents won't be there under the tree this year? Will they be there? Do you expect that to go through and make it to their homes?
So what we've seen, thanks to the work of the Supply Chain Task Force, our Ports Envoy, and others, is a remarkable reduction in some of these bottlenecks. And many of the largest stores are telling us their inventories are actually higher than they were a year ago. If you go to the mall today, of course, you'll see a lot of products. But I will say I'm especially concerned about the pressure on smaller businesses that don't have the market power, the volume to be able to get their goods in. Still, we're seeing conditions that are certainly a lot better than what was feared a couple of months ago. We're going to keep pushing, not just through the holidays, but as soon as the holiday season is over, home improvement season begins. And so it really is constant for the workers here at the ports and for us at the department trying to make sure we ease those pressures.
Secretary, again, thank you so much for being here. Brooke Butler with WJCL. So we talked about pop-up yards here in Georgia. What about other states? What are they seeing?
Well, one of the reasons we're here is we think that what the Georgia ports have done could be a model for other places around the country. This is not the only place that has that fundamental issue, right, where you're literally running out of yard space because there are containers who are waiting too long, and that means the ships can't even pull in to unload their cargo. You clear the space by pushing that cargo inland, and you sort it out there where you have a little more room. It's one of those, why didn't I think of that ideas? It sounds simple, but of course the execution requires a lot. Based on the success of what we're seeing here, I do think this model will be explored and maybe used around the country.
And that's our time for questions. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks again. We're so pleased to be here and excited to see where things go right here in Savannah. Thanks again.